station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
The first COVID-19 vaccine is rolling out in the United States, but doctors are warning now is not the time to let our guard down. Thanks for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. Also happening now at 11, Hoosier families are breathing a sigh of relief after a move by the Supreme Court. President-elect Joe Biden is calling for unity now that the election win has been made official. And a major retail chain needs your help to get Hoosiers vaccinated.
We're keeping track of Pfizer's vaccine rollout in Indiana. The first doses were administered to healthcare workers this afternoon in Fort Wayne. IU Health Methodist, one of the state's 5 pilot sites for COVID vaccine, expects to get its doses by Wednesday. The State Department of Health says Indiana will get 55,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to start with additional doses coming in the coming weeks. Now, frontline healthcare workers and residents of long-term healthcare facilities will be offered the vaccine first. Meanwhile, the authorization process continues for other vaccines, including one from Moderna, which could be approved by the end of the week. Vice President Mike Pence is traveling to Bloomington tomorrow to visit a vaccine production facility. Caltent Biologics says that it has partnered with several companies on vaccines, including Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. Pence will tour the facility and also lead a roundtable discussion on the national vaccine effort.
And while the vaccine is providing some hope, local doctors want everyone to understand it's too late for the thousands of Hoosiers who have died from COVID-19 and the thousands more who are fighting the virus right now.
Realize that there are unfortunately still dark days ahead. And while the vaccine offers light at the end of the tunnel, that tunnel is long. So we need your help.
Central Indiana hospital administrators tell us they are facing a potential crisis with no end to this surge in COVID cases in sight. Staff, beds, ventilators, and other support systems are at their limits. IU Health alone has over 1,100 employees in quarantine. As of yesterday, there were more than 3,000 patients hospitalized with COVID-19, according to the State Department of Health. That number has been decreasing from its peak at the beginning of the month, but it's still much higher than the hospitalization rate in the early days of the pandemic. Tonight, IMPD is investigating the scene of a fire where one person was found dead. According to the Indianapolis Fire Department, neighbors called 911 when they heard a loud boom and saw a man running out of a home on Temple Avenue with his clothes on fire. That man was not found, but investigators found someone dead inside the home, which IFD says was under renovation. IMPD's homicide unit is investigating, which is standard following deadly fires.
New at 11, some Hoosier families are relieved the Supreme Court has declined to hear a case from Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill. Hill was looking to reverse a lower court decision that allowed both partners in same-sex couples to be listed on their child's birth certificate. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker shows you why one couple was watching this case closely.
Jonathan Bowles says there are lots of emotions when the government debates on the rights of his family.
Not feeling like our government is truly being inclusive of us, even though we are a legally recognized, couple.
Jonathan and his husband Jacob have been together for almost 20 years, and their son Truman is 8 years old. So they feel like it just makes sense for both of them to be listed as parents on all their sons' official documents.
It comes down to equal rights. For heterosexual married couples, there is a presumption of parentage that is permitted to be put onto the birth certificate. And so that same presumption should exist for legally married same-sex couples.
While there was frustration the birth certificate case was brought up again, Jonathan says he was encouraged by the court's call to stick with the precedent.
The Supreme Court already has expressed an opinion on birth certificates. They did that in one of the marriage decisions earlier.
Monday's decision is one less thing Jonathan and Jacob have to worry about as they raise their son.
I'm thrilled and surprised, but absolutely pleased that the Supreme Court came back so quickly to reject looking at this.
Despite the stance by the Supreme Court, many gay and lesbian couples have had or are looking into second parent adoptions for that added bit of security if similar cases are brought up and decided differently. Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
Attorney General Curtis Hill's office says they were disappointed the court declined to take up the case. Hill had argued that the previous decision on the case would threaten parental rights based on biology.
Today, electors in every state and Washington, D.C. met to make the results of the presidential election official. Their votes were submitted to the Electoral College, cementing President-elect Joe Biden's victory. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has the latest.
Now it is official, the Electoral College voting affirming Joe Biden as the president-elect of the United States.
And the will of the people prevailed.
That will upheld at state capitals across the country, from Georgia.
Joseph R. Biden has received 16 votes for President of the United States.
To Florida.
Congratulations, electors. You have done it.
To California, which put Biden beyond the 270 electoral votes needed to secure the presidency. Biden getting a total of 306 electoral votes, the same number President Trump won in 2016.
At the time, President Trump called his the Electoral College tally a landslide. By his own standards, these numbers represented a clear victory then, and I respectfully suggest they do so now.
Yet President Trump still refuses to accept that he lost the election. Fears of a violent response from his supporters forcing Arizona to cast its votes in an undisclosed location, and Michigan to close its state capitol and legislative buildings so electors could safely vote.
The people have spoken. It was a safe, fair, and secure election.
Still, most Republicans in Congress haven't acknowledged that Joe Biden won the election and did so by more than 7 million votes. One Republican congressman calling that denial disgusting and demoralizing and announcing he's leaving the party. Some other Republicans now starting to accept reality.
At some point you have to face the music, and I think that once the Electoral College settles the issue today, that it's time for everybody to move on.
Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Throughout the pandemic, the Rebound Indiana has been sharing with you advice and resources to handle stress brought on by this year's challenges. Tonight, the CDC says the pandemic is having a major impact on the mental health of kids and teenagers across the country. Mental health professionals and school counselors say that's true here in Indiana as well. A social worker with Carmel Clay Schools says this is her busiest year ever. The amount of emails from parents seeking resources has doubled. She's talking with several students each day via Zoom and messages. She says parents should talk to their kids at home about how they're feeling, but also highlight positive takeaways from the past few months.
While you're talking about the challenges, making sure that we are also looking at what are the skills that the student has developed or the family has developed during this challenge, or what are some lessons learned that they have come up during this challenge. They can say, we made it through this, and it has made us stronger for these reasons.
An IU health psychiatrist also weighed in on the topic. She says the amount of kids she's seeing between the ages of 11 and 16 has doubled. You can find mental health resources right now in the Rebound section of the WRTV app.
As the vaccine makes its way to the Hoosier state, so does the push by CVS to hire hundreds of people to help with the distribution. What jobs are available and how to apply coming up in Hiring Hoosiers.
And up next, it may be a little late arriving to the bus stop, but it's new technology that could help you speed things along as mass transit in Indy sees an uptick in ridership. The way it works, just ahead.
And will snow slow things down on Wednesday? We'll talk about the timing and our snowfall potential coming up.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
More than a year after the red line started rolling through the Circle City, new technology that Indigo says will help riders board faster is finally about to roll out. The MyKey system was supposed to be in place not long after the red line was finished. Now it's about to debut as Indigo ridership increases following a dip during the pandemic. WRTV's Karen Riddle shows you how carrying less change could mean a big change for those who rely on Indy's transit system.
Next southbound bus to County Line Road.
Indigo will soon launch its new way for passengers to pay for their ride. You could call it a game changer for bus rider and bicyclist Nick Robertson.
I don't carry a lot of cash. You know, I almost charge everything. So if I thought I'd need to take the bus, I have to plan ahead. I have to make sure I have a couple dollars in my pocket.
With Indigo's new MyKey system, there's less fumbling around with cash and coins. You can pay for your ride with an app on your phone or the tap of a card. It'll make life easier for Robertson, who, when he's not working from home due to the pandemic, tries to travel as light as possible since his commute to work downtown is half bike ride, half bus ride.
I had MyKey and had a pass loaded up, just ready to go and click right up when I get on the bus or on the platform. I think that would make a difference for me.
If you think you've heard of MyKey before, you have. The concept caused issues during the launch of the Red Line last year. Delays from the vendor, Flowbird Group, kept Indigo from being able to collect fares on the new rapid transit route until a temporary system was put in place. With vendor issues resolved, Indigo is ready to launch the new system in early 2021, hopefully speeding up service on all local and Red Line buses.
We are so excited about this. Like the things that you mentioned, speeding up boarding, it's a more convenient service for our riders. And it also helps us to get better information about, where people are boarding the bus, what their trips look like.
Every tap of a card or click of a phone feeds Indigo's operating budget, of which 10% comes from bus fares. That's a smaller amount than usual because of the pandemic. The rest of the budget is filled out by federal and state funds. But as riders like Robertson start riding the bus again, they'll be greeted by new technology.
Having ridden other transit systems that have had this operation for a while, it was a bit of a change to come back here and have to fumble for quarters again.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
When the MyKey system is rolled out early next year, Indigo will still accept cash and coins despite the setbacks from the pandemic. Indigo's ridership is climbing back up. In April, once stay-at-home orders were in place, Indigo recorded just 281,000 passenger trips. Ridership increased over the summer, and last month, Indigo recorded more than 407,000 trips, but last November, that number was more than 788,000.
The newest boutique hotel in Indianapolis is ready to start hosting visitors. The brand new Bottleworks Hotel will start checking in its first overnight guests tomorrow. Today we got a look at the space on the north end of Mass Ave. The 139-room hotel is one of the main components of the redevelopment of the 1930s Coca-Cola bottling plant. In addition to the hotel, the complex will include a theater, food hall, shops, a parking garage, and more entertainment.
This was already a project that was happening prior to COVID, but obviously I think this really makes people really mindful of how they're spending their time outside of the home, as well as where they're spending their dollar. They're going to want an experience rather than just a cookie cutter hotel or a cookie cutter experience. They want something really special, and I think that's something that we're delivering with this property.
The garage food hall, only steps away from the hotel, is set to open in January. Exciting stuff there. Time now for your Storm Team forecast with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. And if you look at your screen there, you can see that we're already sitting below the freezing mark here on this Monday night. Kevin?
It's frosty out there already, so cold right now, a little colder when you get up in the morning. The clear sky is certainly part of that picture. The wind is rather light as well. Story, though, will be our snow potential, not for your Tuesday. No issues tomorrow. Wednesday may be our first widespread light accumulating snow. We've waited quite a while here. Typically, it's November 19th when we have our first measurable snow. The big picture, the storm system will come from southwest of us, catch us on the western or northwestern edge, and then produce a lot of snow mid-Atlantic to the northeast. So from New York City, Boston, maybe even D.C. into the action. For us, in general, 1 inch, maybe a little more in spots. What do I mean by in spots? Here's the latest computer model run, and you can see fairly widespread light accumulating snowfall. Maybe the better chance for 1 inch to 1.5 inches, maybe 2, would be south and east of Indianapolis. One of the things to keep an eye on will be our temperature on Wednesday. Should climb a little above freezing, which would mean on the roadways turning a bit slushy in the afternoon hours. Far from the freezing mark now, 24 in Muncie. Shelbyville also at 24 degrees. Indianapolis currently at 27. We'll be united in the lower 20s tomorrow morning. what happens during the day tomorrow. Lots of cloud cover through the day. Temperatures push closer to the mid-30s, low to mid-30s for the afternoon high. Now we're back to Wednesday. There are your snow chances through the day, pretty consistent, starting overnight into Wednesday morning. This is what it looks like. The blue represents the very light snow. Then we go through the day and it will start to pull away as we get to the evening hours on Wednesday. Wednesday hourly forecast, there are your temperatures just a little above the freezing mark in the afternoon. May impact both the morning and evening commutes. Temperatures to the south a little warmer, maybe mid-30s. Drying out Thursday, 36. We'll take one baby step forward Friday at 38. And then as you look at weekend temperatures, back into the low 40s. Early next week, temperatures will be in the upper 40s on Monday. We've just got to get there. If you've waited for snow, maybe your ship comes in on Wednesday, the light snow. Then on Saturday, a chance for some light rain. 42 will be the temperature. Looking at beyond the 7-day forecast, 22nd through the 28th of December should have above average temperatures. Something to look forward to.
Looks good to me. Thank you, Kevin. CVS is looking to hire hundreds of Hoosiers who will help with the company's part in the coronavirus vaccine rollout. The company has 700 open positions for licensed pharmacy technicians. These employees will go into long-term care facilities and vaccinate residents as part of phase 1 of Indiana's vaccination plan.
We are continuing to hire individuals as pharmacists, pharmacy tech, and RNs in particular. There's one thing that I always go for first. If you resonate with our purpose, helping people on the path to better health, and then you reflect our values, that's the first test.
To learn more about the jobs CVS has available and how to get licensed as a pharmacy technician, check out hiringhoosiers.com.
Social media sites are preparing to crack down on misinformation after years of a hands-off approach to the anti-vaccine movements. Newsy's Tyler Atkinson shows you what experts say it can be done and whether it will work.
Health and misinformation experts tell Newsy they anticipate a new wave of misinformation with upcoming COVID-19 vaccine rollouts.
There's already mistrust about this because of the perception of, rushing things, trying to get things out, and not knowing really who to trust.
Facebook has really been a hub for a lot of vaccine-opposed, anti-vaccine related communities, particularly because of the use of private groups. The uniqueness of being able to facilitate a certain community, to be able to talk to people in a private space is what really lent Facebook to be so successful.
Newsy reached out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter about new policies to deal with COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. A Twitter spokesperson told us the site is still working through our policy and product plans in advance of the introduction of a viable medically approved vaccination. Its priority now is removing COVID-19 content with potentially harmful calls to action. Facebook recently said it will start removing false claims about these vaccines that have been debunked by public health experts. YouTube's policies state it will remove videos with COVID-19 misinformation that goes against consensus from the World Health Organization or local health authorities. Experts told Newsy that some of the proactive fact-checking efforts by social media companies should be commended.
I think what we saw before with anti-vaxxer movements associated with the MMR vaccine, for example, those types of claims were typically they just went unfettered. Like nothing whatsoever debunked. And now you're seeing on social media not only debunking, but getting out in front of potential misinformation that may arise.
I think it's been really useful in the last few months to see social media companies beginning to label information as factually untrue or to suggest that there's other sources of information.
But even if the biggest social media companies use robust artificial intelligence and widespread fact-checking to identify harmful COVID-19 misinformation, users may still find ways to post or share it.
When Facebook a few years ago started to put down more restrictions in the way that anti-vaccine related content was being shared on the platform, one thing that users started doing is not spelling out the word vaccine. They started adopting new terminology. So anything from like X-vaxxer instead of anti-vaxxer, or, we're talking about medical freedom. And so these are terms that are then harder to just monitor because, you don't want to say like, oh, I'm against medical freedom.
In order to effectively combat COVID-19 vaccine misinformation, research shows social media needs to be hawkish in action and content.
What Facebook and other platforms need to be doing is really actively monitoring in the same way that they monitored for election misinformation, vaccine-related misinformation. Misinformation can happen very quickly, and then after it spreads, even if you take it down like the next day, the damage from that misinformation can already be done.
Tyler Adkisson, Newsy, Chicago.
The Colts are one step closer to the playoffs after an impressive performance yesterday in Las Vegas. There aren't any shows on the Strip out there right now, but a couple of Colts players put on quite a show of their own. Brad Brown gives us a closer look tonight.
There were several picture-perfect moments from Sunday's Colts win in Las Vegas. But few are getting quite as much buzz as Kenny Moore's showstopper of an interception in the second quarter.
Well, on that call, I was just reading Renfro, and he went out and Waller stayed up, and I just made a play. I saw Carr eyeing the before the play. I know he wanted one of them, but when he get down there, he wanted a touchdown. He don't want to go out with three.
I didn't know if Odell Beckham Jr. was playing defense for us, right, with that catch. I mean, that was unbelievable. I had to stop for a second there. I mean, that did he actually catch that ball? It was one of those almost once in a lifetime catches. Just a tremendous play.
That had me going crazy, and I almost missed the next play because I was too busy trying to celebrate with him. So that was amazing. That's definitely a top two catch. Most definitely.
T.Y. Hilton hit the jackpot in Vegas as well. 2 touchdown catches in the first half matched his TD total for the entire season up to that point. His 13 catches the last 2 weeks are as many as he had in the previous 4 games. How much is T.Y. feeling it? How about having the whole offense ready to dance?
Me and Zach came up with it throughout the week that, let's do the lean with it, rock with it. So I started talking to the tight ends, the running backs, and the O-line. And they was like, oh, let's do it. So we was kind of practicing it throughout the week, and then, we executed it pretty good.
The Colts host the Texans this Sunday. The team announcing they are reducing capacity at Lucas Oil Stadium to just 10,000 after continuing to work with county health officials, citing the rising COVID-19 case numbers. Tickets are still available for that game. And the Pacers' second of 2 preseason games in Cleveland on Monday night. A fast start for the blue and gold. 19-4 opens the game. Domantas Sabonis led the scoring again with 18 points. Pacers had 5 in double figures. Game was tied at half. The Cavs, though, used a strong fourth quarter run to make the 116-106 decision. Friday night will be the Pacers' lone preseason home game. They'll take on the 76ers to close out the week. The regular season starts next Wednesday night. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
A special double-duty Santa was spreading cheer at Riley Hospital for Children today. Santa visited babies and families in the hospital's neonatal intensive care unit. Because bringing in a Santa is risky during the pandemic, a neonatologist did the honors. A NICU nurse, who is also a photographer, snapped memorable photos for families during the visit.
Temperatures in the mid-30s tomorrow with clouds around. We hold off on any snow until Wednesday. Amanda?
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Good Morning Indiana starts here at 4:30. Good night.